Hi everybody, I'm Corinne Blackstone and welcome to my craft room. I'm so happy to have you here today. Before we get started, be sure that you're subscribed here on YouTube. That way you don't miss out on any of the fun, crafty content we have coming. In today's video, I'm really excited to show you how to make these fun little map keepsakes. I'm not really sure what you would call them, but these are things that I would gift for bridal showers or weddings or really special events type of thing. And it involves using some vinyl and some print then cut. And I'm going to show you how to get the pictures of the maps, get them into the shape that you want, and then design the whole thing so that everything looks really nice and professional. We're going to be using a shadow box from Michaels, some permanent vinyl, and just some cardstock, but I'll link everything that we're using down below so that you can easily find it. But let me tell you, don't buy these unless they are on sale. They'll usually go on sale for buy two, get one free, or buy one, get two free. Both are pretty good deals, but obviously the buy one, get two free is the best, but that one doesn't come around all the time. So keep your eyes open. I do try to post when I see that sale because I know we use these for a lot of things in our crafting. So without further ado, let's get started.
First thing we're going to do to create our design for our little keepsake box is to create and find the mapping. Now, I will say if you have the exact locations, that's fantastic. You can search Google Maps. So for this one, I am going to make these up because obviously I don't want to give you guys all my personal information. So let's say that this fictitious couple, they met in Denver, Colorado. So I'm going to search for Denver, Colorado, and it will take me into that area. So I didn't technically want to use Denver, but I want to find somewhere that's maybe, I don't know, a little bit different, a little, you know, somewhere maybe in the hills and the mountains. I don't know. But what you can do, there's different layers that you can choose. This layer probably isn't the best one, but there's a traffic layer that could be fun depending on what you want it to look like. There's transit layer. There's all sorts of different layers that you can choose from for this. So I would just kind of pick whichever one you like. I think the default's pretty good. That one's got some interesting designs to it. There's a lot of things you can do with this. You can turn off the global view, which will take all those little little markers off. And there's lots of other maps that you can use, and you can turn off all of those. So it just really depends on what you want your map to look like, and if you want it to be a little more simple, whatever it may be. So I'm just going to keep it kind of simple, and I'm going to say that we met at Golden Gate Canyon State Park. But I would like it to be a little bit closer because this is pretty out there, it's pretty far away from where we met. So you can really get as in as you want to get to this. So let's say that we know that we met here at, I'm going to say we met at this Gilpin County Community Center. I'm going to scroll out just a little bit. And again, I can go under those layers. I can go to more. I can turn off the labels. I can, like I said, I can really play with this however I want. I can turn off and on the global view, whatever you want to do. Turn the labels on. I don't care. Make it how you want. But I'm going to just kind of go with this where it's got the Golden Gate base camp here. So what I want to do from here is I can either use print screen or I can also just use the snipping tool, which I'll show you how to find that if you don't have it. What you're going to do is go to your little start key here, and I just want you to search for the word snipping, and you'll see here that you have a snipping tool app, and it's going to open that up. Now, while it's open, I am going to pin this to my board or my taskbar because I use it a lot. So I'm going to keep it on my taskbar. Now, what you'll do is you're going to click New, and it's going to allow you to kind of draw a square or a shape. Now, I do kind of want this a little bit big, and I want that Golden Gate Canyon base camp to be in the center. Once I've done that, I'm going to go to save this, which is this little button here. This stupid little thing always pops up, but you're going to use this little floppy disk to save it. And I'm going to save this into my folder that I'm making for this project. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to add a new folder, and I'm going to call this map, and I'm going to save it right here and click save. Now you're going to do that for each of your locations as to whatever you want them to be, whether it's where you got married, whether it's where you met your best friend, where your friend moved to, whatever you want to do. Mine is going to be met, engaged, and married. And I think we're going to get engaged here in Mackinac Island. I don't know why, but that seems like a fun place. And right here, we'll get married. Let's see, we'll get engaged. Let's see, maybe Arch Rock. That looks kind of cool, huh? But I don't really love all the lines there, so I'm going to just pick something else. That's what's kind of fun about this is you can really do this however you want. Now, I have been to the Upper Peninsula, and it's really beautiful there. I've actually been to Whitefish Point, Sault Ste. Marie, all of that. So that's also a really cool place that you could use. But like I said, do it how you want. Make the map whatever you want it to be. I'm just going to kind of find a cool looking place and go with that. We're going to be well traveled folks, and I decided that we're going to get engaged at the Space Needle just because that sounds fun. But I want the Space Needle to show because that's where it's going to be. So again, I'm going to grab that snipping tool, choose new, and draw that square around it. And again, I'm going to save this, and I'm going to call this one Space Needle. And then I got to find somewhere to get married, so let me find that. I have no idea where this is, but it's on a Baptist church and some sort of venue. So we're going to go with it. Somewhere in North Carolina. So that's where we're going to get married. So again, use your own, you know, areas, wherever you actually got these things done. So again, I'm going to go to my snipping tool and save this design here, this section. And I'm going to save this one into that folder as well. And we're just going to call this married. And then let's head over to Cricut Design Space. Over in Cricut Design Space, we're going to upload those images that we just downloaded from Google Maps. So I'm going to click upload and I'm going to choose upload image and then I'll browse for them. And then you can just add those pictures. Now there's just going to be a picture. We're not going to do anything to these. You're just going to click apply and continue and save it as a flat graphic and click continue. Then you'll just upload it. Now it might take a second because these are kind of big, but we'll play with them in a minute. So I'm going to get the other two uploaded. So I uploaded the marriage one. I'm going to upload where we met. And I'm going to click continue. And again, just apply and continue, flat graphic and continue, then upload. So I'll get the last one. Now I have my 3 maps here and I'm going to get a shape. So for these, I'm going to use a heart. So just grab your shape and choose your heart. Now, one thing that I'm going to do first is I want to change my heart to a guide really quick. That way I can see through it to see how big I want it to be over my like designs here. So I'm going to say we got married at this venue right here. So I kind of want that to be the center. Now I'm going to duplicate this heart so that I can do that for each of my designs. So I want whatever the spot is where we met or got married to be the center. Then we'll adjust the pictures here in just a second so that we can kind of pick wherever we want. So remember we said we met at this base camp. All right. Now from here, I can make these a little bit bigger if I want like the Space Needle to take up more space in the middle of my heart. Whatever I want it to do, however I want this to look is up to me. But I think that looks pretty good because I do still want to be able to see some of Seattle. But now I realize it's cutting off the word Seattle and I don't really want it to do that. I'd rather have Seattle be fully in the design. And then for this one with the venue, I kind of like it because we still have some of the roads because it's not very roady where I chose, but I am going to move it over a little bit. All right, I think that looks good because we're going to put a little marker, so don't worry, like this isn't like how it's going to perfectly look. For this one, I think I want the little bit more of like this road in there. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. So now what I want to do is I need to take these hearts and change them back to a basic cut from the guide. And I don't want to move them because we're going to do the next step without moving them. So change each one of them back to a basic cut. Now what you're going to do is select your heart and your picture behind it and choose slice. And then I'm going to go ahead and delete the heart and the background. And now we have our little design that's going to have our picture in it. So I'm going to do that for each of these. And don't worry, we'll resize these a little bit more as we kind of go. But for now, we're just kind of getting everything set up so that we can get all the pieces and parts together. All right, we have our 3 hearts. So we got where we met, where we got engaged, and then where we got married. Now, again, do how you want to do. But now what I want to do is add a little heart onto these so that we can like mark on the map where it happened. Now you can use a shape if you want to. You can just, again, use the little heart, and you can use a star. You use whatever you want. It's really your design, up to you, whatever you want to do. So this would be like if I wanted to use the little heart shape and say we met right there. That's an option, right? Absolutely. Totally an option. If you don't want to do that, you can go into your Design Space images, search for a heart, and see if there's a heart shape that maybe you like a little bit better for your design. So you can go through those, or you can always download one from Creative Fabrica, design bundles. You can get them on Google. So there's a ton of options. So I'm going to search through some of these because I don't want just like a standard heart. I kind of want something a little bit different, maybe a little more stylized like this, where you can see the map through it. I still do want it to be red, but I want it to be a little bit smaller. Now, I will say that I don't love how that looks, so I am going to change this because this is going to be a print then cut heart, and that'll help me see what it's going to look like a little bit better. So again, choose what you want, do it however you want to do it. I don't think that one's it, but you know, play around. Let me find a heart that I like, and then we can place these on to our maps. All right, I think I like this heart a little bit better. You can see through it better. So I'm going to make it a little smaller, and I'm just going to kind of place it wherever I think it should be on the map. Now, again, wherever you met, wherever your thing was, whatever. It's you, do you. So for this one, I'm going to put it under the word Space Needle, I think maybe, because maybe we put it right over Space Needle. That actually looks pretty good. Okay, and then let me get this out of the way. I'm just going to use copy and paste for more hearts. And then for this one, we said we met right here. I do have these backwards, but don't worry, we'll move them around a little bit. Right now, they're not where they're going to be, and it doesn't matter because they're all going to be printed out separately. So once you have your hearts where you want them, I want you to select each heart and the small red heart, and I want you to flatten these designs. That's going to tell Design Space not to cut around the heart and that the heart is part of our print. So I'm going to go ahead and flatten all of those. Now, you're going to put these in whatever size picture frame you want. You can make these into cards. Do whatever you want with them. But you need to know what size you're going to do so that you can get these sized correctly. I'm going to be using a 9x9 shadow box, which gives me about an 8x8 space. So I'm going to make a little template for that. I'm going to use a square, and I'm going to make it an 8x8 square, which is just as simple as just typing in an 8, and now we have our square. Now, what we're going to do here, this is super simple, is you're going to right click and send this to the back. And this is where we'll size our hearts, because our hearts are pretty big. They don't need to be this big. And we're going to size them to fit within our box. Now, this doesn't really, I hate staring at that in black, so I'm just going to use a light gray. Just going to help me size this up a little bit more. Now, one thing I will say is that I want to make sure all my hearts are the exact same size. So I'm going to start by sizing this guy, and I'll do him by hand. Now, these can't be huge because you've only got 8 inches across, and you want to leave a little bit of space. So if you do about 2.5, you'll probably be okay. So I'm going to click on this heart and see that he's 2.472. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go 2.472, and he'll be the exact same size. And then I'll do this one also at 2.472, and that way they're all the exact same size. Then you can kind of figure out where you want them to sit on your design. Now for me, I like them centered and like nice and even. There again, we're not going to hold them like this, so don't be married to this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to align them, and I'm going to align them center vertically. And then this is all for visual sake, so you can get your sizing correctly. I'm going to go to align, and I'm going to distribute these evenly horizontally as well. And that just helps me with the sizing of the rest of the design, because we still need to add the names and then like the different information of the locations. And I totally realized I forgot to flip these. So I'm going to have to flip these. So I'll have to redo the alignment, but that's fine. No big deal. I just totally forgot that I wanted to make sure that those were in the right order. So again, we'll just align them. We'll center them vertically. We'll distribute horizontally. Perfect. Done. Good. So from here, we're going to add the information that we want to put on our design. So for this, we're going to use some text, and I'm going to put the names in. And again, these are all fictitious people that don't really exist. So this is going to be Jennifer and Michael. no idea who they are, but they are a fictitious couple that apparently really like to travel. So we're going to use a font, and you can use any font that you want. I prefer to use my system fonts. I don't have a ton in here right now, so I'll kind of go through and see if I have something. If not, I'll grab a font. But you can use any font that you want for this. Now, I do prefer like a nice script font, something a little more like fancy. But again, do you find the font that you like? Do whatever you want to do. This is really your design for you to make how you want. So I'm going to go grab a font that I like and I will install it and then I can make my names. Select a font for this and I'm going to open up my system fonts and then you can kind of just scroll through and pick a font that you like. I'm not sure quite the vibe I'm going for, so I'm just going to try a couple of the newer ones that I've downloaded. Like I said, I got a new computer, so I haven't gotten a ton of new fonts on here yet. So I'm going to just kind of go through some of the ones that I did just download and see if any of these fit my vibe of what I'm going for. That's cute, but it's definitely not it. So give me a second to scroll through and find a font. All right, I like this one. This one's called Honey Lane, and I will link it below. So I'm going to use this one for their names, and I'm just going to size this down. So with this, I could put this on the cardstock, or I could put this on to the glass. Either one is fine, whichever way you want to do it. But I am going to do this with a black text, so I'm just going to make it black just for visual sake. And now the next thing I'm going to do is add the information down here as to like what I want to put there. So for the text, I'm going to put each of them, I'm going to say, let's see, I'm going to make one say Met. Oops, and I missed the M. I'm going to use Met for one of them. So that's going to be this one here. And I'm going to size this down so that it's a little smaller. And then I'm going to use the same thing. I'm going to copy and paste so that they're within the same like sizing. And then this one is going to say said yes. And I'll put an exclamation point. And then for, oops, and I didn't mean to do that. For the next one, it's going to be I do. So again, I'm going to use copy and paste. And then this one's going to say I do. I think actually I'm going to put an exclamation point after each one just because I think it looks a little better. All right. I like that. Now for the next section that's going to go under these, I'm going to add the dates. So for that, I don't want to use a script font. I want to use something a little plainer, a little easier to read. So you can just kind of scroll through and find one that you like. So I think that one's probably fine. So we're going to say that we met on June 18th, 2011. I don't know. I'm just picking random days here, people. And that one we'll put under Met. So I'm going to kind of make this much smaller. And I want to get that one under the Met. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste so that I can keep the same sizing. And we're going to say that we said yes on September 21st, 2015. That looks like a decent date. And then you're just going to copy and paste again so that, again, all of this is the same size. And then we'll say that we got married on, let's say we got married November 14th, 2016. Yeah, sure. I don't know. That's probably fine. So once you kind of have all of that laid out the way that you want it, you can get a good idea of how it looks. But one thing I want to make sure that I do is I want to take each of my days and each of my like descriptive words. So I want to take the word met. Oops, it's selecting the square. I want to take met and I want to combine it with the date. So I want to align them because I want them to be centered and then I'm going to attach them. I'm going to do that to each of our dates and each of our like descriptive words because I just want them to look nice and straight and even. And that way everything's going to look really good when you go to place this on to your shadow box. So I make sure to attach those. So this is our design. So this would be like our shadow box. And then these are our words and our little map pieces. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hide the square. We no longer need it. And I want to go to color sync because I do just want all of my words the same color. It's fine that they're gray. I don't care right now. And then we have our 3 little hearts that we're going to print. Now, make sure that you save your design before you hit make. That way you don't run into any issues. And then all I'm going to do is hit make. Now it's going to bring up our different mats. So we have one that's going to be our hearts that are going to print, which we're just got the 3. Now I can fill this up with some other printables if I want to, but I'm fine. It's just going to be cardstock. So I'm really not worried about it being too much. And then here we have our different words and our dates. And those are either going to go on the glass or potentially on the cardstock behind the hearts. We'll see kind of how we want to do it, if we want to put it on the glass or not. You do what you want. Have fun with it. So we're going to go ahead and get these printed out. So all you have to do is hit continue, and you want to choose send to printer. It's going to tell you kind of what it's going to look like with its little registration marks and arrow. I want to print it on my inkjet printer, which is an Epson. I'll link that one down below. I'm going to leave the bleed on. That just pushes a little bit of the color out from the edges of the hearts. That way, if it cuts just a little bit off, we don't have any white space. And then I want to use my system dialog because that's going to allow me to choose some better print settings. So in my system dialog, I make sure I have my inkjet printer selected, and I'm going to go to preferences, double check your document size and your orientation, and then you want to make sure that you change your paper type. I use premium presentation paper matte, but do some testing to see what works best on your printer. And then I change my quality from standard to high. And I change one more thing under more options. I turn off high speed print. That allows it to print a little bit slower, not leaving any of those unsightly lines. Then go ahead, click OK, and click print to send it to your printer. And then we'll head over to the machine.
I loaded the paper on to our mat. I'm using a Hello Hobby light grip mat, and the arrow is in that upper left hand corner, which is what you want. So you want that to load into the machine on the left. Go ahead and load this. It'll read the lines and cut these out. And then next we're going to cut out our black vinyl. Once this is done, we'll go ahead and unload this, and we are going to flip the mat over so that it's upside down. We don't want our hearts to bend, so you can see that it's kind of coming off the mat. What I do is I keep bending it, but I push my finger to the back of the heart and then just gently work my way through the heart to get it to come off. I'll do the same for both of the hearts. That way we make sure that none of them get creased because we want them to stay nice and flat. So I'm just going to push my fingers along, and you'll do that for each one. And then when I take the backing off, because I do have some extra left over, like I didn't use a lot of the sheet, I want to do the same thing because I can use the rest of this page that doesn't have any of the writing on it. Like I've got all that white blank at the bottom that I can use for other projects, so I like to try to keep that. Now this mat's still fairly sticky because it's pretty new, so I'm going to go ahead and use it for our vinyl as well. It'll hold just fine, and I'm just using a vinyl scrap that I have. I'm going to load this, and then this will be cut on the vinyl setting, so I do need to change that setting over on my computer. And for this one, it's going to cut all of our words, so we'll let it do that. We'll set these over to the side. Once it's done, we can go ahead and unload the mat, and these cuts are real hard to see on black on the camera, but it's all cut up in this upper corner. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this weeded. Because the words and the dates are so delicate, I'm going to do what's called reverse weeding, and I'm going to show you how to do it. It's real easy. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off a piece of my transfer tape, and I'm going to lay down one of these, and I'll trim it off because the rest should fit on the transfer tape that I'm not using. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this off. Now you're going to want a squeegee, and for this I'm going to burnish this down a little bit. I don't really burnish too hard. I just kind of give it like a swipe or two. I don't go crazy. And then I'm going to take the backing off, but I'm also going to see if I can get the main piece with it. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. Just depends on the day. And we're going to go real slow because you can't really see where your design is when you're doing it this way. So you want to go super slow, but see, I can start to see where my design is because I used one that had like a lot on the end. I should have trimmed that off, but that's okay. And you're going to just go super duper slow. And you're going to make sure that all your pieces stay down. Now the little dot for the exclamation point didn't stay down, so I'm just going to press and see if I can get it to stay down. If not, I can just get rid of the exclamation points. I don't really need them, but that dot is so tiny, I'm just going to skip it. I don't care if it stays or doesn't. It doesn't matter to me. So this is the one that says met. And so you're going to just keep peeling. Now see how they're staying. Now obviously sometimes the middles of your letters or your numbers may stay in place, and that's okay. I'll come back and peel those out in a few. But this just makes it so much easier to get your tiny, tiny designs to stay down. And you can see how much easier this is. It goes pretty quick. Now, like I said, you do kind of want to take your time. And I've got a little middle part that didn't really want to stay, but that's okay. Not too concerned about that. And then we just have the 6 left. So now you've got your entire design here, and then you can just go through and get any of the parts that stayed. Like this just ripped. It wasn't a big deal. Super easy. You just kind of, just like you would do any other weeding, you're just going to pop it off, and I'm just going to stick it over there. Now I'm going to get the centers of the numbers and the letter, and then we have this ready to go. And now we have our design off of the transfer tape. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the same method with the rest of these because they are so thin and so tiny. And like I said, I'm probably just going to pull off the exclamation point. That little dot is just so small. So let me go ahead, finish these up, and then we can apply this to our shadow box. So we're first going to start with our shadow box and our paper. Now you could have the Cricut cut this out. I have not found that my Cricut really does a great job for some reason getting this one quite right. So I like to just do it myself. These boxes are from Michaels, and I'll link them down below. They're my favorite shadow box. That one does not want to come up. That one is really stuck down. And they're pretty sturdy. They're really well priced. You can usually get them for buy one, get two free, which is when I always buy them. So I would recommend waiting for a sale. So they have the backer piece, which we are going to need. They have a spacer, and then they do have the glass. The glass on this one, for now, can stay down. So we'll leave that in there. Because really the only piece that we currently need is this one. So what I like to do is I'm just going to take and trace this on to a piece of paper, and then I can cut it with scissors or with my paper cutter. And I do just try to make it just a touch bigger than the design. And then I just take a pen. And if the pen shows when you cut, it's okay because you'll just use the other side of your paper. Now, like I said, you can use a paper cutter if you want. I'm just going to use scissors. This part doesn't have to be perfect because nobody's going to see the edges of your paper. It's going to be under the spacer, so I wouldn't worry too much about getting this perfect. But again, you can have the Cricut cut it if you want. You just have to have good measurements, and like I said, mine never seems to come out quite right. So once I have that, I'm going to go ahead and pull the little pins out and get rid of this little thing. We don't need that. So this is the paper that we're going to be using for the inside of our shadow box. And you can see that with, like, when you put the spacer on, it takes up a little bit more of the space. Now you can attach this if you want. Do what you want. Do it. Like I said, no wrong way to do this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my little hearts out. And then remember, we got engaged at the Space Needle. We met at this base camp and then married here somewhere in North Carolina. Now I have foam tape because I want these to look like they're popping off of the page a little bit. And another thing is you want to try to make sure that these are really straight. You can use a level if you want. I'm a rebel and I just kind of, I don't know, eyeball it. I'm usually pretty good at getting stuff really, really straight. So you can use a ruler, eyeball it, whatever you gotta do. But I'm gonna put like 2 layers of this foam tape. I just get this from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just gonna put 2 layers of this on here just so that they stick out a little further from the paper than, you know, than they would. And again, I'm just gonna kind of eyeball. It doesn't have to be like perfection. I'm gonna scoot it over just a touch. But now do you see how it kind of, I don't know if you guys can see it, but do you see how it kind of sticks out a little bit? So I'm just gonna do that to both of these other ones. I'm just gonna go ahead and put the 2 pieces of foam tape on here, and then I'll show you our next steps. Once I've got that done, now you can decide, do you want to put your wording on to your paper, or do you want to put it on to the glass? Now for me, I personally want to put it on the glass, so I'm going to reassemble this. And again, we're just going to put the spacer in, then you're going to put the hearts in, and you want to make sure that you have this facing the right way so that the hanger is at the top of your design. Go ahead and clip all this together, and you'll kind of start to see the vision. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that all pressed down. Here is, so you start to see the vision. Isn't that gonna be so cute? So I like to put the vinyl on the outside just because I like the way it looks. It gives a little more 3D. So we've got the say yes, we've got the met and the I do, they all kind of stuck together. So we've got the met, the I do, and the said yes, and then we have their names. So it'll kind of go like that. I know there's a bit of a glare, but this is such an easy thing to put together. And this is no different than any other time you add vinyl to something. Now, so it's really simple. So I'm just going to take my little vinyl. Now I did lose the dot on the exclamation points. So I'm going to take those off just because they look weird without the dot. They just look like a line. So I am going to remove those from our design. And I'm going to grab a squeegee so that we can place these on to our glass here. I'm going to go ahead, peel the backing off. Now you're going to want to go slow because these are really thin lines. And we want to be sure that everything sticks. Now, you're likely going to see the top of my head for this because I want to make sure that I get over the design here. And then I want to make sure that I get this lined up really well. So I'm just going to try to get this as straight and centered as I can. And then I'm going to use my finger to press this down. Now, because this is glass, you always want to be careful. And honestly, we shouldn't really need to use the squeegee. It should hold just fine without, because vinyl loves to stick to glass. So that looks really cute. I'm super excited. This is going to be adorable. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to remove the exclamation point here that just didn't work out. And that's okay. Sometimes stuff just doesn't work out the way that you want it to. So you just adjust. And by adjusting, I'm going to go ahead and just take them off, which is fine. Now this needs a little burnish from the back. It's been a couple days since I actually put this transfer tape on. So I want to make sure that that's well stuck down. So again, we're going to go ahead and peel the backing off. Make sure everything stays. Now I'll go ahead and do these ones really quick, and then I'll show you what this looks like when it's all done. Thank you so much for joining me for today's tutorial. I hope that you picked up some tips and tricks. Remember to have fun with this. You can use this for lots of different events, maybe children's births. Maybe you want to use them for where you've lived. There's lots of ways to use this, so don't feel like you just have to use this for like weddings and things, but it is great for that. Now, if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below, and I've linked everything that we used for this video down below so it's easy for you to find. I hope that you all have a wonderful day, and as always, happy crafting.